In Southeast Asia lies a tiny red dot on the world map, Singapore. No natural resources, no farmland, no oil, no fresh water of its own. In 1965, when Singapore became independent, many believed it would fail within years. Some even called it a lost cause. Fast forward to today, one of the richest countries in the world. Asia's top financial and business hub. World's cleanest and safest cities. One of the strongest passports globally. A GDP per capita higher than the US, UK, and Japan. So the question is inevitable. Backhand index pointing right, how did a small, resource-poor island become Asia's #1 country? This is the story of vision, discipline, leadership, and ruthless efficiency. This is the story of Singapore. Before skyscrapers and luxury malls, Singapore was a mess. Life before independence. In the early 20th century, Singapore was a British trading port. Most people lived in slums, overcrowded housing, unsanitary conditions, high unemployment. By the 1950s, unemployment was over 14% to more than 70% lived in slums. Crime, riots, and ethnic violence were common. Singapore was divided into Chinese, Malay, and Indian communities, often suspicious of each other. A forced independence. In 1963, Singapore joined Malaysia. But tensions rose quickly. Political conflict, racial riots, economic disagreements. In 1965, Malaysia expelled Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's leader, cried on national television. He knew independence wasn't a celebration, it was a survival challenge. Singapore was now alone, defenseless, poor, vulnerable. Most experts predicted collapse. But Singapore chose a different path. Every great nation has a defining leader. For Singapore, that man was Lee Kuan Yew. His core belief. Lee believed one thing above all. Good governance can overcome any disadvantage. He rejected excuses like small size, lack of resources, colonial damage. Instead, he focused on competence, discipline, and honesty. Zero tolerance for corruption. Lee understood corruption destroys nations. So Singapore paid ministers high salaries, gave anti-corruption agencies full power, jailed officials without mercy. Even close allies were punished if guilty. Message was clear. Backhand index pointing right, no one is above the law. Today, Singapore ranks among the least corrupt countries in the world. Singapore chose order over chaos. Strict laws. Many criticize Singapore for being too strict. Heavy fines for littering, strict drug laws, caning for serious crimes, a strong censorship in early years. But these policies created safety, cleanliness, stability. People could walk at night without fear. Investors felt secure. Why discipline mattered. Lee believed, without order, there can be no development. While other nations debated freedom versus control, Singapore focused on results. Singapore had no resources, so it decided to become the resource. Open economy strategy. Instead of protectionism, Singapore invited the world. Foreign companies, global investors, multinational corporations. It offered low taxes, political stability, skilled workforce, zero corruption. Companies like Shell, IBM, Intel to Microsoft set up operations. From manufacturing to finance. Singapore evolved in phases. 1960s, 70s. Manufacturing and exports. 1980s, electronics and engineering. 1990s, finance and banking. 2000s, technology and innovation. Today, Singapore is Asia's financial hub, one of the busiest ports, aviation leader with Changi Airport. Singapore didn't invest in oil or weapons. It invested in people. Merit-based education. Education became practical, skill-focused, competitive. No favoritism. No political quotas. Students were trained in math, science, engineering, technology. Teachers were highly paid and respected. Results. Today, Singapore students rank top in global exams, Universities are world-class, workforce is highly skilled. Education turned human capital into economic power. In the 1960s, most people lived in slums. Singapore's solution? Backhand index pointing right public housing ownership. Housing Development Board, HDB. Government built affordable apartments. People didn't rent, they owned them. This created stability, a pride, loyalty to the nation. Today, over 80% of Singaporeans live in HDB homes. Slums completely eliminated. Many Asian countries struggle with ethnic conflict. Singapore chose unity, equal laws for all, no religion or race above another. English made the common language, racial quotas in housing, a zero tolerance for hate speech. People identified first as Singaporeans, not Chinese, Malay, or Indian. This stability attracted investors and talent. Singapore used geography intelligently. Global trade hub. Located on major shipping routes, Singapore became world's busiest port, gateway to Asia. Friends with everyone. Singapore avoided unnecessary enemies. Strong ties with US, a good relations with China, neutral foreign policy. This diplomatic balance ensured security, trade access, stability. Singapore plans decades ahead. A smart traffic systems, digital governance, cashless economy, AI in public services. Government decisions are data-driven, long-term, efficient. No election populism. No short-term freebies. Singapore's success came with trade-offs. Limited political freedom, strict speech laws, high cost of living. But most citizens accept this exchange. Backhand index pointing right, stability, safety, prosperity. Singapore proves that size doesn't matter, resources aren't destiny, leadership matters, discipline creates progress. From slums to skyscrapers, from chaos to order, from poverty to prosperity. Singapore didn't wait for miracles. It became one. Can other Asian countries copy Singapore's model? Or was Singapore a one-time miracle? Comment your thoughts.